I learned yet another valuable lesson from taking train travel, especially Amtrak, is if I'm going to be on a train for longer than 2 hours, I better get business class. Because, man, those seats were ridiculous. I mean, they were all cramped and, yeah, not worth it. Going all the way up to New York City, first off, they don't know how to turn on the air conditioners. And secondly, you know, it's a good thing I got decent circulation in my legs, or else I'd get a blood clot. Plus, once we got to Philadelphia, it seemed like everybody and their brother-in-law got on the train, and I was sitting next to this really angry Dominican dude who was pissed off at some lady who was, you know, taking a video of his crying, or one of his 5 crying kids that were on the train. Jesus. That's another thing. Wear condoms, everybody, please. But, yeah, anyway, other than that, it was like a real quick trip. Bullshit. Actually, the next thing I ought to do, I probably should take like a air train or whatever the hell they call them. You know, those ones that's 30-minute flights up to New York. Probably would have been cheaper. But whatever. Next time, business class, definitely. Anyway, once I actually got up to New York City, what I ended up doing was going directly to the hotel. I stayed at the New Yorker, and it was like just right up the street from the hotel. I looked on Google, from the train station. I looked on the phone. It said 33 and 8th. I looked for a 33 and 8th. As soon as I got off the train, there was the exit. Boom, right up. Man, it's kind of like Chicago. New York City's kind of like Chicago, but just a lot grimier. And with a hot garbage smell coming out of every orifice. You know, the grates, the sewers. You know, I expected that. Hot garbage smell. And then there was like this, there was this hobo dancing around with a flute, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you know, and there was that ambulance dragging off, I think, a crackhead or something, and he was just dancing around him with the flute, dressed like Richard Simmons. Jesus Christ. But yeah, anyway, I went right to the room. And, you know, and one thing I will say about New York, everybody's actually kind of friendly. They're actually kind of chill. You know, as long as you approach them with, like, just the way I usually approach people, everybody's not as big of a dick. I mean, of course, I wasn't in Brooklyn, so that might have had something to do with it. But yeah, everybody was actually pretty cool. But I went to the hotel. It was pretty much a broom closet, as you would imagine, but I was only there overnight. And then I went to eat dinner at this little place called Trianca Blanca, or whatever the hell it was. It was a little Italian restaurant that was built into the bottom of the hotel. So then, that night, actually, it was probably a bad idea to get chicken rigatoni before going to a concert. That's a lesson. But you know what? What the hell? I didn't overpay for chicken tenders or hot dogs or anything at the concession stands when I got to Madison Square Garden, so that's okay. I don't mind I was a little full while I was trying to party. That's cool. Whatever. Saved money. But anyway, got to Madison Square Garden, and actually getting up in the Madison Square Garden, that was the funny thing. You know, the crazy thing is they said you were gonna have to have your vaccination card and have your ticket ready. But still, I had my card on me in case, you know, they were checking, but they didn't check. So whatever. Plus, I still got the ticket stub that they never scanned. But it was weird. I went right in this one entrance. I went up the stairs, went through the metal detector, and it was about as organized as a house on fire with a Tesla parked in the garage. You know, they were like, go around. You know, there's always like that one black guy that's always like in charge. And then you go around, and then you go up, and his supervisor's like, hey, Tyrone, what the fuck are you doing? These people, they don't have their wristbands. What are you doing? Go back down there. He'll give you a wristband. You know, good job, Tyrone. You know, so you go back down there, and then he's like, and I showed him the phone, and he's like, oh man, I'm sorry, just going up. And, all right, nobody scanned the ticket. I didn't get a wristband, none of that. I was staying up in section 308, which is like, I guess the corporate boxes or whatever the hell. But of course, first thing I did was I got beer. You know, that was definitely the absolute first goddamn thing I did was went to get beer. They had a concession stand, but of course, as you would imagine, the line was hella long. But the reason why the line was long was because there was 2 bartenders, that's it, in this little concession area. It was an angry Italian lady, New York, and there was this young black girl. And of course, the line with the young black girl was going really quick, but I didn't know that. I was stuck in the long ass line with the angry Italian lady, because I guess every single person in front of me in the line was trying to bargain some kind of deal with making a tab, and you weren't allowed to have a tab. You were going to have like 4 drinks tops. It was a 4 drinks maximum. You know, of course, it was only a 3-hour show, so whatever. But everybody was trying to negotiate with her. Everybody. And whoever wasn't trying to negotiate with her was fucking up the credit card thing, because you weren't able to give cash. You weren't allowed to pay cash. It was card only. So every time people would put the card in, they would put it in before it said insert card. Like goofy shit, man. And no wonder the line was taking forever. So as soon as I got up to her, I just said, I'll take 4 Coors Lights. You know, they didn't have Yingling. They didn't have any actual beer there. So I figured, okay, I'll get Coors Lights. 4 of them. Of course, in the time that I was in the line waiting to get beer, the show started. So I get my beers, I go back to the seat, and I had a nice seat for pretty much most of the concert. And then toward the end, Dave Grohl was like, all right, well, thanks for coming out. You know, that was the end of it. And then I figured, oh, well, shit, I guess the concert's over. So I went looking for merch. And I went down to the second, there was second floor and the first floor of Madison Square Garden was where they had it all set up. And I went down to the second floor, they were all sold out. And I was like, ah, shit. So I went up, talked to this old dude, and he said, he said, go down, try 114 or 118 on the first floor. So I go down to the first floor where they usually sell like team jerseys and everything. They had like a big thing. And I go down there, and sure enough, they had like 3 hoodies. One of them was yellow, and they had a couple other things. It was like some poster with a pigeon on it or something. But anyway, I was down there, and this really nice Latino girl, she was saying like, oh, we're almost sold out of everything. And I was like, well, hey, do you have any hoodies in 2X? And she's like, oh, let me. She goes over and she's going through them, and she's like, oh yeah, we got one left. And I say, well, hey, do you take cash? And she's like, yeah, sure. Because I was tired of paying fucking card. I was paying card for everything all that night. Anyway, so I gave her 6 10s. It was only $50, but I gave her like the extra 10 because she made my friggin' night. And I was like, thank you, God bless you, thank you, seriously. And I took the hoodie, and then as soon as I was getting the hoodie, music started kicking up again. And I didn't know if it was like, you know, stereo or whatever, but I went outside and I was looking on the floor, and sure enough, the Foofighters were back on the stage. And I was like, ah, shit. So I ran. The escalators weren't working at this point. I ran 3 stories back up to section 308. That was the moment I realized, man, I got to get some cardio in or something, because, I mean, that ain't good. And these are Madison Square Garden floors, okay? These aren't like, oh, well, let me run upstairs, get my keys, I forgot them. No, these are like floors. Everything's big in New York. Oh, it's just up the block. Up the block could be a fucking 1.5 miles in New York, all right? Everything's like bigger in New York. So when I say 3 stories, nah, it was more like 9. It's more like 9 stories. At least that's what my heart was telling me when I ran. Anyway, I got up there, found a seat again at 308. Everybody was stoned and high at this point. That's another thing. There was this one chick. She was passing a joint around. I took 2 hits of that. Everybody took a hit of it. We're all vaccinated. It's fine. It's fine again. You know, in times like these, we learn to love again. In times like these, we give and give again. All right? So, somebody passes you a joint, you take 2 puffs and you pass. Puff, puff, pass. God damn it. Man, that's the best I've felt in a long time. But anyway, they did a few more songs, and then officially the concert was over. So then, as we were all heading out, I thought, oh, well, hey, cool, we're all leaving at the same time. This is great. No, it's not cool. No, it's not, because I felt like I was in Battle of the Bastards. Everybody was all crammed together at one point. It's like none of the doors were open. Like, why aren't the doors open? What's going on here? And then we all spilled out into the main lobby of Madison Square Garden. Thousands of people. It looked like a zombie movie. Whole horde of people. Whole horde of people, right? It was kind of like annoying but beautiful at the same time, you know? And I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt at the time, and there was a couple other guys wearing Hawaiian shirts, and we were like, yeah, all right, yeah, you know? It's a thing. Get over it. But, we were going around, you know, we were all leaving out the same entrance, and then of course as I was leaving out the entrance, there was all these guys out there with shirts and everything like, hey, $5, $5, $5. Dude, that's probably not even the real thing. No wonder the shit was sold out. These guys went in there and bought the, you know, I really felt bad for this one dude. He had a sign up saying that he wanted a ticket stub from the event. It's like, dude, it's all electronic. There are no ticket stubs. There's no ticket stubs. There's no actual little cardboard stubs from the event. It's all on the phone. Man, I was like, poor bastard. I mean, if I had a printer with me, maybe I could have printed out something for, you know, but I don't know. Too much work. But yeah, as we were all leaving, it said, "Thank you for coming to Madison Square Garden." You know, the big, and everybody cheered. It was, it wasn't just a concert, it was an experience. You know, it's the first actual mass collective of people since this whole Chinese batsuit virus started. And it's, you know, and of all the bands to kick off concerts, you know, my boys, the Foofighters, of all fucking bands, that is just awesome. But after I got out of Madison Square Garden, that's when I really noticed how crazy New York really can be. I mean, when they say you drive, you know, they say you walk a couple blocks up from someplace. I don't know what it was. I don't know what New York looked like before Giuliani was mayor. You know, when they say Giuliani cleaned it up, but you know, it looked like a Martin Scorsese movie to me. You know, the scene in Taxi Driver when the crazy black guy's walking down the street going, "I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna fucking kill her." It's kind of like that. It's still like that. I don't know what the hell they're saying about how it's all glitzy, and that must be the Broadway crowd or somebody telling you that. But that, oh, shit. New York was exactly as I expected it to be. The only reason I went up there was because of the Foofighters. And next time I do take a train up to New York, I'm taking business class. Because, man, that coach crap. That's not some short little trip like Wilmington. Oh, you're going up to Wilmington? I'll take coach. No big deal. Pay the extra, you know, what is it, like extra $40 or something to have an actual seat with feet. Of course, I took business when I went up to Chicago like a few years ago. And that was an even bigger mistake. Never take a train to Chicago, ever. Never, ever take a train to Chicago if you're coming from the East Coast. I guess from the West Coast it's different, but even then, get a cabin. But I will say this, though. Despite almost getting killed like maybe 2 or 3 times while walking in New York at midnight, that kielbasa from that street vendor, that was a damn good kielbasa.